I'm ranking every fruit in Blox fruits as of update 25, starting with the barrier fruit. Barrier is known for being impressively trash in literally every aspect of the game. The amazing thing about this fruit is that it's not even remotely close to being good in anything besides trolling. Its moves have low damage and are incredibly slow. It's also challenging if not impossible to use effectively, requiring precise aim, prediction, and timing, which is the reason why it's the worst fruit in my opinion. Now the mobility move. It absolutely sucks. Like, just look at this thing. For the second to last place, we have our friend the spring fruit. Let's first look at its pros. Its moves are quite fast compared to barrier and have okay range. It also has decent mobility, all of its moves are multi-target, but that's pretty much it. Now don't get me started on the cons. It's the second worst for a reason. Z move has no range, X move requires precise aim, C move has little AoE, and V move doesn't even work in open areas. But the F move is kinda nice though. Now, at place 39, we have Phoenix. Well, not really, cause it's the Walmart version. Falcon is generally seen as one of the worst fruits, which isn't wrong, but if you're skilled enough you can pull off some decent combos with it in PvP. Now what's interesting about Falcon is that the Z move lets you jump slightly higher, but isn't considered a transformation, meaning that you can switch to other fruits and still keep the jump boost. However, it's the third worst fruit for a reason. All of the moves are terrible for grinding due to their low damage, high knockback, and little to no AoE, and none of the moves even break instinct, which is actually impressive. Before we continue, make sure to watch the video till the end, because I've got some serious hot takes for the ranking of the best fruits in the game. Despite having received a rework in update 20, Spin is still one of the worst fruits in the game. It is on a whole nother level than the previous fruits, but it's still not even close to being good. The moves have decent AoE, stunts, and damage for its price, but they also have short range and can be punished easily if missed. Personally, I feel like Spike is one of the most underrated fruits due to its damage and stunts. The Z move is decent for grinding if you hold it, and so are C and V. The damage is insanely good for its price, and the cooldowns are also pretty fast. And not only does it look like though, its combo potential is also pretty decent. For how much it costs, Rocket is way too overpowered. Despite being the cheapest and supposedly worst fruit in the game, its Z move is ranged with decent damage, X is also ranged with even better damage, and C has decent mobility and damage. Additionally, all the moves are pretty fast and have fast cooldowns. However, the damage is still pretty bad compared to the next fruits on this list, and only 3 moves deal damage. Despite usually being used for trolling, Bomb is actually not that bad of a fruit. The Z move when held does great damage, but X is pretty mid. V takes away some health in exchange for absolutely gargantuan damage and AoE, and F is just some extra bit of damage. For C, you basically just place some invisible landmines on the ground, and enemies that step on them will take a bit of damage, but it stacks very quickly due to the amount of mines. Being the cheapest elemental fruit, Smoke is really good for early game grinding. Its moves deal some surprisingly good damage and have decent stunts. You can literally bounty hunt with it as the max level player and still be decently fine. And what makes it even better is that the F move also deals damage to enemies below you while flying, and since it can be held infinitely, it's basically infinite damage. However, its moves are all pretty short ranged and can be easily dodged. This is our first legendary fruit on the list, but not in a way you'd usually think. Ping is really mid for its rarity. Its moves are slow, have little damage, long cooldowns, and are very hard to aim. However, if you're good at aiming and predicting, then this fruit is actually pretty good in PvP. Gravity is our first mythical fruit on the list, but not even in the top 30 though. The Z move is pretty decent, X has an excellent stun, but C and V are more than incredibly slow. The cooldowns on Gravity are also really long, and the F move is just absolute garbage. However, if you're skilled enough, this fruit can actually be kinda good due to its decently high damage. Blade is a mid fruit on its own, having mid moves and okay M1 attacks. Its moves have low damage, have small hitboxes, and require good aim. However, what makes this fruit decent is the fact that it has the unique passive to be immune to all sword attacks, making it an usable option for PvP or grinding enemies that use swords. We finally made it to the top 30. At place 30, we have Rubber. Now what's funny about rubber is that it's used by the main character of One Piece, you know who I'm talking about, but it's pretty mid in Blox fruits. Let's start with the pros. Its moves have good damage, decent range, and good AoE. However, they also have little hitboxes and are quite slow. For the slowness, however, you can fix it by transforming, which boosts your speed, knockback, and damage. Now the F move. It's really interesting to say the least. You can literally launch yourself from jungle to Middletown in the first sea with this. Ghost offers the unique ability to resurrect the user with half their health after they have died. However, this passive is really mid, because in most cases if you die you're probably in a situation where you're just gonna die again once resurrected. Its moves are overall decent for both grinding and PvP, but not particularly good. Quake is our first fruit on this list with an awakening. For Quake, it's most commonly known for its good PvP potential, since both V1 and V2 have incredibly high damage and great stuns. However, it's also quite bad for grinding due to its knockback, and the V move is pretty slow but has titanic AoE. Control is a pretty decent fruit overall, kinda good and kinda bad at the same time. I mean, the damage is very good, and it's also really fun to use. However, what makes this fruit kinda bad is the fact that all moves can only be used within a certain area, and plus the moves are pretty slow, though they deal incredible damage. Despite having some good stuns, Sand V1 is just bad at everything in general. However, once awakened, Sand V2 is decently good in almost everything. It has great PvP potential due to its high damage, fast moves, and most importantly, amazing stuns. It's also pretty decent for grinding. However, you should note that sand makes you take double the damage in water. Now hear me out, this fruit is pretty bad for grinding, both V1 and V2, and V1 is basically just bad at everything in general. However, once awakened, this fruit becomes way better for PvP, especially aerial PvP, due to its insane damage and stuns. However, you need to be relatively skilled for it to be good. So it's overall a pretty nice fruit, but definitely not the best. Despite having gotten so many nerfs, Flame is still a decently good fruit, both V1 and V2. It is due to its grinding and PvP potentials, both being really good due to its high damage and elemental immunity. It has high damage, high knockback, good AoE, fast moves, and low cooldown. However, some moves have small hitboxes, can be easily avoided, and become harder to use if your opponent is good, which is understandable. After all, it's only an uncommon fruit. I used to like to put Dark and Sand together in rankings, but this time I had two fruits placed between them. Like Sand, Dark V1 is pretty mid, but once awakened, it has excellent PvP potential and is also pretty nice for grinding. It has some decent damage, not great but not bad either, and when paired with its amazing stuns, Dark becomes overpowered in PvP. Now we all know how much better Love got after its rework in Update 19. The moves are really quick, V is really fun and useful at the same time, and F basically lets you skycam while being able to use other moves. Plus it has no major downside. Oh yeah, and if you land any move on anyone, that person will fall in love with you and deal 30% less damage for a short period. However, it has some small problems that make it only place 22. For example, opponents can escape the X move's AoE easily. At place 21, we have the real Phoenix. Phoenix is a pretty nice fruit, both V1 and V2. All the moves are pretty mid with their decent damage, low cooldown, but way too high energy consumption. It only has a few damaging moves when unawakened, and even when awakened, it's still not that good for damage output. However, the X move has the unique ability to heal you and any ally close to you in exchange for sacrificing lots of energy. So overall, it's best to just use Phoenix for support. We finally made it to the top 20! Starting from now, the fruits actually start getting better and better. Sound is a relatively new fruit. It has decent damage and great AoE, almost all the moves are really fast and have some okay stuns. And also, by using the F move or by dealing damage, you can fill up your tempo meter, boosting your overall stats. However, this fruit's quite short range, so overall it's not that good. Shadow is a really good damage dealer and can be fantastic in 1v1 situations. However, when it comes to grinding or countering teamers, it becomes quite hard since most of its moves are single target. Oh yeah, and by landing the C move, it heals you by 20%. It also has an Umbra meter, though it's purely cosmetic as far as I know. Before the rework in Update 24, Diamond was literally one of the worst fruits in the game. However, now that it got reworked, its moves are all multi-target and break instinct. Additionally, the V move has auto-aim, surprisingly fast cooldown, and has huge AoE. Overall, it's a decent fruit for grinding and fantastic for PvP, maybe even top 10. Mammoth is another relatively new fruit. It's not particularly good in anything besides sea event hunting, having relatively low damage and underwhelming moves. However, once transformed, you take 50% less damage and can hold the F move infinitely, which is really useful for sea event hunting. Portal is a really bad damage dealer with moves that are really hard to land except for the V move. However, it's the best mobility fruit in the game with 3 mobility moves and 1 teleportation move that lets you go to any island you want. It was also formerly the best fruit for PvP when using sword main, if not still the best due to its amazing combo potential with the V move and survivability with the X move. Tired yet? No worries. I promise you that we're getting closer to the best fruits in the game. Ice is a really solid fruit for PvP and first sea grinding, mainly due to its beyond amazing stunts and elemental immunity. Considering that it's only an uncommon fruit, it's way too overpowered for just everything in general. It also has fantastic AoE, however it lacks damage, meaning that it can only be used as a stunner. It's also really easy to use, and it's my first fruit. Now, before you start hating me for putting the third most expensive fruit in the game at place 14, hear me out. It's true that its transformation provides decent mobility and the fruit in general has some great PvP potential, but it becomes really underwhelming in grinding and everything else due to its high knockback and short range. Similar to Leopard, Yeti is also great for PvP but is underwhelming in grinding. Now what's funny is that it also literally has the exact same price as Leopard. It has the same pros as well as the same cons, however it's slightly better because the moves are just slightly better in general, plus you can walk on water when transformed. Magma is known for its amazing grinding capabilities and especially when sea event hunting. It has the highest DPS, damage per second in any fruit, as well as great DOT, damage over time. However, it lacks range and is pretty mid in PvP, which is the reason why it's only at place 12. For Light, it's similar to Magma but not exactly the same. It's also pretty good for grinding, having good AoE and elemental immunity just like Magma. However, it also has great range, making it fantastic for PvP as well. Though it does require some aim for it to be used to its maximum potential, and most of the moves can be instinct tricked as well. And we finally made it to the top 10. Starting from now, the fruits start getting amazing. Spirit is known for being great in PvP due to its big AoE and extreme damage. However, the moves are relatively slow and have long cooldowns. It also has a buddy system that lets you summon Heaven and Hell buddies depending on where the line is on the Spirit's meter. Heaven buddies buff the player whereas Hell buddies nerf the opponents. Venom is known for its amazing grinding and PvP potential due to its large AoE and fantastic DOT just like Magma. Also, one thing that's cool about Venom is that you can infinitely hold the F move when grinding to deal damage to nearby enemies. Overall, it's like Spirit but better in grinding too. Rumble is a really good fruit in PvP due to its amazingly fast mobility and stunts, especially when awakened. It's also really decent for grinding due to its large AoE. You can pretty much think of Rumble as Ice V3 since the X move can be used similarly to Ice's V move. However, it is relatively skilled compared to some other fruits on this list. Aiming and timing will be your best friend. Released in Update 23, T-Rex is yet another relatively new fruit. It has some decent combo potential, good damage, and is surprisingly good for grinding. It also has great M1 attacks even when untransformed, similar to Kitsune. Overall, a fantastic fruit for both PvP and grinding. Gas was released in the same update as Dragon Rework. It has great combo potential, good damage, good AoE, and also has elemental immunity. It even has M1 attacks, making it even better for grinding. It's also fantastic for PvP due to its combo potential and damage, and I just can't find a reason that makes this fruit even remotely close to being bad. Now that we're in the top 5, all of the following fruits can be all considered the best fruits in the entire game. Though it's pretty mid but not bad when unawakened. However, once awakened, it becomes one of the best fruits due to its absolutely amazing stunts, amazing damage, amazing AoE, amazing everything. It's probably top 4 or top 3 for PvP, and top 10 for grinding. Blizzard is one of those fruits that excel in everything imaginable. It's fantastic for grinding and sea events, while also being great for PvP. This is due to its amazing AoE and damage. It also has 2 incredible moves. The V move lets you create a massive area that continuously deals damage over time to everyone inside, and the F move deals damage to everyone caught in the path of your tornado, and it can be held infinitely. Now, the top 3. These are the most powerful fruits in the entire game. Most people consider Buddha to be only good for grinding, which isn't true at all. If your opponent doesn't know how to counter it, Buddha is more than amazing for PvP. It was the best fruit in the game before a certain fox fruit was released, and it's still one of the best even to this day. This is due to its ability to transform, gaining 50% defense when awakened and significantly increased M1 range. The M1 range increase makes it so that enemies are unable to hit you while you're able to hit them, making it the best grinding fruit in the game, and excellent for everything else as well. In second place, we have that certain fox fruit, Kitsune. Now first things first, we'll get the most important thing sorted out. It's pronounced Kitsune, not Kitsune or worse, Kitsune as I've heard some people call it that way. Also, the is silenced in Japanese, making it sound more like Kitsune. Anyways, back to Blox fruits. Kitsune has M1 attacks, large AoE, great damage, good mobility, and basically everything that makes a fruit good. It's top 3 or top 2 for PvP, and top 5 for grinding. Overall, just a fantastic fruit for literally everything. However, it is known to be very brain dead though, which isn't wrong. I decided to divide the first place in 2, so for place 1.5, we have East Dragon. Now when in its base and hybrid forms, it's exactly the same as West Dragon. However, when transformed, I'd say that it's slightly worse because the X move has no range compared to West Dragon's X move. Dragon in its base form is usually considered a great fruit for PvP and decent for grinding due to its M1 attacks, high damage, and large AoE. When transformed into hybrid form, its moves are even further enhanced, and its grinding potential becomes almost on the same level as Blox fruits like Buddha due to M1 combos being extended to 5 instead of 3 slashes. When fully transformed, Dragon is one of the best Blox fruits for PvP due to its high damage, huge AoE, instinct breaking moves, and more. Also, don't say that I copy-pasted it from Blox fruits wiki, it was literally me who wrote it on the wiki in the first place. You can check the history of the page if you want. Now, the moment we've all been waiting for. In place number 1, the best fruit in the game as of update 25 is West Dragon. Its base and hybrid forms are exactly the same as East Dragon, so I'll skip that part. When transformed, the X move is slightly better in my opinion. Instead of dragging enemies with you and then slamming them down, it creates slashes of fire that have better range compared to East Dragon. So overall, I'd say that it's better and deserves the spot for the best fruit in Blox fruits overall. That's it for this video. If you also want to know how to get one of the best races in the game, Draco, you can check out this video. Anyways, make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed or found this video helpful, and I'll see you in the next one.